To go into executive session
I'll second that.
for appointment of a particular person, interviews, and also with the town clerk.
Supervisor Brody?
Yes.
Councilperson
Okay, I make a motion to return to regular meeting.
Second.
Stoll. 7:07. Supervisor Brody?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Ballard?
Yes.
Who's here now?
Okay, please rise and salute the flag. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Emergency exits are to my right, behind the town clerk, and also
Dutchess County Planning, and all of those comments have been added to the draft local law that's before you this evening with a revision date of December 7th, 2022, with the exception of one comment. We got the comments from Dutchess County the day after this draft was circulated to the board. And the comments from Dutchess County Planning, for the most part, almost completely overlaps with the planning board's comments, with the exception of one, which is the third bullet on page 5. They suggested clarifying what we're referring to with the net assets exceeding 50% of the cost. And so I am suggesting that the board make one minor revision to that provision and put the word for sale before cost in the paragraph that they're referencing. But other than that, all of the comments from Dutchess County have been addressed. And I'm happy to answer any questions about the revisions if you have any.
I actually had a couple of questions,
Sure.
which I would have bothered Charlie with, but I didn't call earlier. The chart in section 7 that had some changes to it, I don't think it called out what P, PS, and S mean.
Can you just tell me the page? There's a couple
Oh, I
charts.
was afraid you were going to ask that. Hold on. And I printed it out. Did I bring it? Oh, yeah, you bring it. Hold on. Find you that chart.
You said the county requested
Okay.
changes were page 5?
On page 5, yes. Page 5, section 121-42.D2A. So in that paragraph, I'm suggesting adding for sale before cost. But, so on page 15 and 16, that is a call out of the use table. So you have questions about the use table?
Yeah, that was the one that had the P, PS, and S, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't think that was defined, or at least not the last version I looked at. It didn't say what those things meant.
Okay, yeah, so those are terms.
Okay.
I believe permitted use. Permit use. I will
Right, right.
confirm that.
Okay. The explained in the zoning code itself, because again, there were references to it, but there wasn't a definition in this document.
I will double check that.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, what?
It is defined in the code? Yeah, I don't have the full code in front
Okay.
of me, so.
And the last thing was it says that units, regardless of whether they're studio 1, 2, 3, or 4 bedroom, would the unit fee, regardless of unit size, is the same. And I was a little confused about that. Did I read that correctly?
Can you direct me to the which
Yeah, I was afraid you were
section
going to
there?
ask that. I wrote down 6C2. Let me see if that's actually... But you want a page number. Oh, I'm sorry, that was in the zoning. That wasn't in the... My mistake. My mistake. Never mind.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
there are no other questions, I'm not sure if anyone else from the public wants to speak.
Is there any other questions on the local law? Now, what was the one thing you wanted to change again? So I would make sure I have it.
It's actually on page 6 in our packet. It's the other assets paragraph, or number 2.
Oh, the other assets?
Yes. So the first sentence, A, it says, any household with net assets 50% of the for sale cost of a 2-bedroom workforce
Okay,
housing
so
unit.
instead of cost, should be for sale.
Yes.
Okay.
A 3-letter change. That's pretty good.
Okay, are there any other comments? Can I make a motion to close the public hearing for local law for affordable housing?
Second.
Supervisor Prodi?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Abelard?
Yes.
I make a motion to open the public hearing for comprehensive plan affordable housing addendum?
Second.
Supervisor Prodi?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Abelard?
Yes.
So the last time I was before this board speaking about the comprehensive plan, we had gone through the document and created a red line draft. I understand that caused some confusion, and there was a change in direction following that meeting. So at this point, what we are proposing is a comprehensive plan addendum, where we pulled out all of the information that was directly relevant to housing and that's supportive of the proposed zoning text amendments. That is now in a standalone addendum that would be, it's approximately 17 pages, and it would be attached to the back of your current comprehensive plan. There would be no changes to the comprehensive plan document itself. So it's very clear exactly what is being changed. It's just this addendum.
And the document was very clear, too, so thank you for that.
Thank you. So I'm happy to answer any questions about what is in this document, but it generally gives an update on demographics, the shifts that have occurred, the reasons why the affordable housing is needed, and it does have some policy recommendations. I have not received any comments from Dutchess County Planning on the addendum yet. I understand it was submitted to them. I understand that the Planning Board also had it last night at their meeting. I'm not sure if their comments are ready yet either.
Okay.
Is there anything in this addendum that would supersede or replace anything that's in the comprehensive plan?
I think it clarifies and provides additional support to the pro-affordable and workforce housing language that is already in the code. The only place where there would be anything I would call superseding is within the current comprehensive plan. There's some specific language about the administration of the housing board, and that would be superseded by what's in the addendum.
That's in our comp plan or our zoning? I thought that was in our zoning.
It's referenced in the comp plan, and it's also in the zoning.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other questions, comments?
No.
No? Okay, I make a motion to close the public hearing for comprehensive plan affordable housing addendum.
Oh,
Second.
did you have something to say?
Please.
Did you want to speak?
I suppose, yeah.
Well, come up to the podium.
Yeah, Ross 11, Amenia Union Road. No, I think it's obviously great. I really appreciate that you have agreed to go ahead and do it this way rather than try to change the whole plan very quickly. I was just, some of the wording I thought could be clarified, or I'm not quite sure I understand it. And maybe actually particularly about the wording about the workforce housing and how that is going to be regulated.
Laurence, could you pull the microphone closer to your face?
Sorry.
It's okay.
I could
Thank you.
also take off my mask if I need to. Is that okay? Presumably, this is not a criticism at all, just trying to understand. presumably some of this workforce housing is going to be done by developers and others done by, actually owned by the town. Is that correct?
I don't think owned by.
No, I don't think,
No,
Not town-owned.
no.
Well,
if it was on town land, it would be managed by developers, I suppose. I think it made
We'd
some
lease
reference.
it out or something.
Yeah,
So
I
the
mean,
money that is actually in a trust for workforce housing, which might be increased, would be given to a developer?
it would be I mean, in that condition, it would be a not-for-profit developer. The money from the the Workforce Housing Trust, is that right, Charlie, since you've been intimately involved in this, or Ashley, if you know?
Please.
You need to move so he can come to the podium.
Is your question, who would be administrating anything that fell underneath the workforce housing local law?
Her question was if we would be owning any of the affordable housing units.
The town can own workforce housing, as well as a developer can own workforce housing as well. Our current code had the housing board doing the administration of anything that fell underneath the workforce housing law. The local law revisions has that, the town being able to hire a nonprofit administrator to administrate that program, be it owned by the town or by a developer. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just wondered then, how do you, if it's a developer who actually owns it, how do you regulate them? I mean, how can you force them to say you have to take this person rather than another? You can only charge this much rather than something else. Is there a mechanism for that?
It's in the local law.
It is?
Do you want to speak to that?
Yes, so it would be regulated by the town's approvals, it would be overseen by the housing board and the administrative entity that the housing board vets. And so that administrative entity would be responsible for making sure that the income levels are met and that the people that are living in these units are meeting the income requirements as well as the housing, the family size requirements for the units that they're renting.
And Laurence, that would, oh my God, that would likely be a not-for-profit, the
Okay.
administrative entity.
And so what does the developer get out of this?
They're required to provide a certain amount of affordable housing. They would, under the code, they're required to provide there's an inclusionary zoning requirement in the code. So they have to do a certain amount set aside for either a subdivision or a multi-unit development. There's also some density bonus provisions. So if they provided extra affordable housing, then they could get a density bonus.
So that makes them, I'm sorry. So that's enough of an incentive, you think, for them to provide?
It isn't just an incentive. They're not going to get their permits or what they need to build if they don't follow what's in the local law.
Can I?
Yeah, please.
So to be clear, our previous local law always had a requirement that if you build 10 or more units in a subdivision, you have to set aside 10%, one for every 10, as affordable housing, or you can opt to pay a fee in lieu of doing that. So the revisions are the same. You still have to, if you build 10 or more units, you have to set aside 10%, or you can pay a fee. Now the fee is sliding and it moves with whatever the Dutchess County average median income is for a household. And there is a new part of the local law that adds a density bonus component, which incentivizes a developer to set aside 25% of their development as affordable housing and to get a 50% density bonus, which people were able to get a density bonus if they conserve land around them. Now, you conserve land plus you can get this with the affordable housing. And we don't give them an out, so you can actually pay a fee and get your density bonus. You actually have to build the housing. So that's an incentive. The other is a requirement. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
So X company does a development or wants to build, they have to do that on that same lot. They can do it anywhere
Yes.
in Amenia. And what, I think that it's coming up on something that came up with the planning board yesterday, for example, where they have sort of workforce housing, which is really like for a manager rather than real, what I would call workforce housing. Is there any way to make sure that they do it correctly?
So I think you're speaking about the Troutbeck proposal. So Troutbeck is, the majority of their housing there, the way it is now, is lodging units, so it's like hotel rooms. Most, Ashley can speak to this, but I've never really seen where you've made it a requirement to set aside workforce housing or affordable housing when you're developing a hotel or something like that.
No.
They are developing, maybe it's 5, it's less than 10 units of housing for their staff. So if they did 10 or more, they would fall under our code. They'd have to, do 10%. But for those
So that's not considered?
hotel kind of stuff is generally not in these kinds of codes. I've never seen it actually. Yeah.
Sorry, thank you. Thank you very much for clarification. And I suppose it's just some of the wording, especially in the first part about, actually it comes from the original comprehensive plan, you say sort of preserve and encourage affordable housing. I'm not sure why you say preserve. And then you promote construction of moderate income housing. But nothing sort of seems to, none of the moderate income housing, there's sort of 3 categories that sort of get a little washed toward the end. So I'm not sure, first of all, what you mean by preserve affordable housing, because it seems we don't really have any to preserve. And then how do you promote this construction of moderate income housing as opposed to affordable or workforce? And if that doesn't make sense, why do you have it in there in the beginning?
Yeah, Ashley,
No, I was just going to say, as far as preserving affordable housing units, we have that. This is in the comprehensive plan, right? So the law has a definition of who would be eligible for workforce housing under that new law. But the comprehensive plan, I mean, Ashley, correct me if I'm wrong here, but we have a number of multi-unit buildings, like in the hamlet of Wasaig, here in the hamlet of Amenia. I mean, those are not regulated as workforce housing, but they're affordable housing. And
You would have what I would consider to be like naturally occurring affordable housing, housing that is smaller units. You may have an accessory dwelling units. Those are things that are just by their nature, because of their size, generally more affordable. So you want to make sure that you are allowing those units to continue,
right,
while you're also promoting more regulated affordable housing, as well as allowing opportunities for moderate income housing.
and Laurence, there was actually some talk at the Tri-Town Coalition about some programs that I think were state programs that were actually to renovate situations like that where it's not regulated, but where it is where it's affordable now, but where it's pretty grim.
That's terrific. And when you say promote the construction of moderate income housing, presumably that you still have to take in, or anybody who would want to do this supposed moderate income housing, whatever that means, would still have to take into account zoning
Right.
not regulations, but the zoning density.
Right.
Is that correct?
That's correct. So, and also to be clear, the comprehensive plan addendum is a policy document that sets the broad umbrella and the reasoning behind why you are choosing to advance the local law. So the local law is actually what sets forth the regulations. This is the policy guidance that supports it.
Thank you very much, and I'm very glad that you were able to pull this through.
Is there any other any other comment on the comprehensive plan affordable housing addendum? Can I make a motion to close the public hearing for comprehensive plan affordable housing addendum?
I'll second that.
Supervisor Prodi?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez.
Yes.
Blackman.
Yes.
Grevillard.
Yes.
I make a motion to return to regular meeting.
Second.
Supervisor Prodi?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Grevillard?
Yes.
Is there any other public comment?
I didn't see on the agenda the resolution for the appraisal and survey. Maybe that's under
We have
matters.
other matters on the agenda for that.
Oh,
We
okay.
do have it in
No,
front
you
of
wouldn't
us.
know that, but that's where it goes.
Well, that's, because we didn't, I'd already sent out the agenda.
I have a public comment.
No?
Just for everybody out there, if you're getting drops, ups and downs, I'm having a real hard time with my audio system. It appears to be going sour. So I'm trying to keep it together for you. Hang in there.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to cover the next steps on the comp plan and the local law. So I believe we have provided the board with an EAF. At the next meeting, if you choose to do so, we could have the negative declaration prepared, and the board could consider adopting the local law and the comprehensive plan amendment.
I believe we have to have another public hearing, though, before we can do the comprehensive plan. Yes, we did. We're required to
This was
have two.
That's right, the first one wasn't noticed properly. I
Wasn't
forgot.
noticed.
Yes, okay, that is correct. You do have to have
So
one
we
more.
need to have two that were noticed
Okay.
properly. So we'll do that in January.
In January. Do you have a date set for that yet?
Well, we can actually do a resolution to set it at the reorg. So we would be maybe the first week in February, Dawn?
February 2nd.
February 2nd?
Okay. All right, so we'll have potentially, if there aren't additional comments, we could have the resolutions prepared for that evening if the board chooses to close the public hearing and adopt everything that night. You could do that.
Great.
Yeah, we could do everything, at that time.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, is there any other public comment? No? Okay, supervisors report. Highway garage and salt shed. Labella is working on the footprint of the highway garage based on the feasibility study meeting discussion. Next step, we'll have the civil department involved to locate the building on site with all the infrastructures based on inventory of vehicles from highway superintendent. We'll be setting next meeting date based on everyone's schedules. CDBG Route 44 sidewalk grant sent reimbursement request to Dutchess County Planning for $6,743 engineering costs and expecting payment this week. Amenia Water District working on authorization with property owner to test potential replacement well sites. 4, holiday shopping. Please remember to support local businesses by shopping locally for gift cards and gifts. 2023 reorganization meeting. 2023 reorganization meeting will be held on Thursday, January 5th at 6 p.m. Town of Amenia COVID-19. Amenia Town Hall offices are open Monday through Thursday. The building department is also open on Fridays. Masks are optionals and are available in an envelope on the second set of doors. Signing the visitor log is required. COVID-19 test kits are available in department offices for anyone who needs one. COVID-19 vaccine information, homebound vaccine appointments can be made by calling 845-486-2555. COVID-19 vaccines and booster shots are available at Amenia Drugs. Call for appointment, 845-373-8000. CVS pharmacies, go online to schedule an appointment, or visit www.dutchessny.gov/COVID vaccine for expanded clinic dates and times and to make an appointment. Town clerk report.
Good evening and happy holidays, everyone. This evening, we're going to start off with the minutes for this year. Has the board had the opportunity to read them?
What?
The minutes.
The minutes. I
You
know
want
we
someone to read those?
No.
Have you
No,
read
yes.
Oh,
can you
I
please-
read them.
Can you please read them out loud?
I was hoping we
No,
would.
if you got to pay attention.
I'm trying again. I'm a little foggy still, so.
Wait till it's tax season, I go even faster. Is the board ready to take action on those? Maybe somebody can help.
I would appreciate an extra 2
Meeting.
weeks. Yes,
January?
I
Wanna do the
apologize.
January meeting?
It's just a really hard time to
Not a problem.
read all of the
Sounds good to
26
me.
Okay, so that's easy.
Okay, I appreciate
Also
it.
presenting this evening to the board is the vouchers for this meeting, and they read as follows. General Fund A, totaling $58,488.60. Highway Fund, $29,148.84. Amenia Lighting, $1,080.68. Wasake Lighting, $401.42. Amenia Water, $8,364.95 for a total of this month's abstract, presenting to the board seeking permission for the supervisor to pay claims in the total amount of $97,484.49.
I'll make a motion that we pay the claims as read.
Second.
Damian? Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Repillard?
Yes.
Also this evening, the board had the opportunity to meet with some candidates, and also at our last prior meeting. Has the board had the opportunity to make any decisions on that?
Yes.
Would you like to share with us?
How do you want to do it? One
A
motion
motion?
with all
Yes.
there's no terms for this, right?
No
No.
terms,
Okay.
just a committee. It's the comprehensive.
Well, I will make a motion that we appoint the following volunteers to the Comprehensive Plan Review Committee. Nancy McKenzie, Tony Robustelli, Michael Peak, Nina Peak, Bill Flood, Manower Ahmed, Paula Pelosi.
I'll
Second.
Ooh, everyone
want a
wants a second.
Wow.
That never happens.
Moving right along.
Councilperson Doyle will get credit to that. I heard her first. Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilperson Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Repillard?
Yes.
Also, I'd like to take acknowledgement that in our packets this evening, we do have the balance sheets and our operating statements. That's been emailed and circulated prior to this meeting. I do see in there, we also have Megan's report. She is indicating that everything is going well at the highway garage. They did participate in the parade of lights this year, since the weather was good. They've been cutting brush and getting all of the trucks ready for the winter and doing their repairs. They worked with Lee's Trees the last 3 days, cutting down hazardous trees. Thank you, Megan Chamberlain. I think everything else in the packet someone will present that is already here.
You have the water report?
Want me to do water?
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
SCBI, Environmental Services, has shared the monthly report for November of 2020, sharing the total gallons used along with the average GPD pumped to distribution. That is what that second line is all about. He also shares the customer calls, the water line markouts, the emergency responses, and any other items that they've completed during the month of November. And we do have our building inspector here this evening, so I'm not reading that, and I did not receive a recreation report, but I'm sure someone that is one of the liaisons could share what they did last night. Other than that, and wishing everyone a happy and safe holiday. For any of those last-minute procrastinators who need to go shopping, come on over to the town hall tomorrow. Between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., the Amenia Fire Company Auxiliary is hosting their annual craft fair and vendor fair, so come support local.
10 a.m. to 2 p.m.?
10 to 2, plenty of time. And if you forget someone, you can come back and get that last-minute gift. And other than that, I look forward to working with everyone next year.
I could provide a few comments from our meeting last night with the Recreation Commission, if this is a good time, or if you want to do it.
No, go ahead.
Okay, they are planning to add a new program to the recreational offerings. A Tai Chi instructor is coming forward, and they voted to include that in their town-sponsored offerings. They are also going to add adult basketball. I believe that's at Weebatuck, in addition to the existing volleyball program for adults at Weebatuck. They did complete, Berkshire Fence completed $16,000 in repairs to the fencing that was in desperate need of repair and improvements at Beekman Park. And we did talk to Dodona, I can't remember her first name.
Jane Dodona.
Jane, I was going to say, okay, anyway, Jane was very good, and she described how they would, the Recreation Commission could help her start laying the groundwork for creating a very targeted master planning process for Wassaic Park and some additional land here around Town Hall. That's my understanding, is that she is going to work very specifically on those areas, and the Rec Commission is developing a list of, a wish list of things that we would like to add to our portfolio of recreational opportunities, not just playgrounds, but, you know, the whole gamut. And then she would be looking at the sites specifically to see what opportunities would be best achieve those goals, what were feasible. And she would start first, obviously, with the any flooding or any environmental issues that would preclude certain activities, so that we could start understanding how we can better utilize the parkland and open space that we have now in the two centers of both Wassaic and Amenia.
What is the status of the bylaws for the Rec Commission? Well, there we go.
So there was, we had submitted to the board, we didn't receive any comments from the board on the last round that we had submitted. There were comments from Paul and the Rec Commission, which I went over, reviewed. There's been some edits to that the initial document. That's what's being circulated now for town board review and approval.
Would we actually include a regular meeting on the blank day of the month? I mean, it's often that committees don't necessarily, you know, they change over time, and they should be a date and time that is conducive to the rest of the committee?
They had a meeting yesterday. They reviewed this. I didn't put a date in there.
No, I mean, it seems hard to imagine that we're going to legislate what they're going to, what day they're going to meet.
That's why it's blank. If they can pick a date that they want to do it and have a steady date on the calendar, it hasn't been changed. It's something the board, they want to change it, they can change it, but it's just a suggestion.
So this is just a
Draft,
rough
yes.
draft?
Yep.
Well,
And-
this has been through the Recreation Commission.
Correct.
And so any of their comments have been included in this, and including my comments
And yes, and Victoria's comments are in here as well.
about how,
And I can go back to-
how to submit their bills for payment.
Okay.
And I can talk to Paul about that specific issue too, and see if the Rec Commission has a date that they would
Because we're not
prefer or
going to
whatever.
be actually adopting the bylaws until the reorg.
Okay.
So that sentence that we're referring to here is, the commission shall hold at least one regular meeting every 3 months, and preferably will hold a regular meeting on the blank of each month, which shall be open to the public. It shall adopt rules for procedure for the conduct of all business, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I think if, you know, that's not even, it says preferably, so it's not even really, you know, it's not a rule.
Mandatory. Okay.
But if it just said preferably met monthly, then I think that would solve that line without being overly specific.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Is there anything in here about them noticing appropriately in advance of the meeting?
It says notify, The secretary shall take and keep in a proper book true and correct minutes of all the meetings, shall provide minutes of the meetings to the town board, shall notify members of the time and place of all meetings, and shall, in general, perform the duties incident to the office. I believe they're doing that, now.
Yeah, they'll have a reorganization meeting in January, at their first meeting.
I think what I'm asking is a little different. So it says the secretary shall notify members of the time and place of all meetings, but
He's talking about open meetings law.
I'm just talking about noticing the clerk so that it can be posted or...
Something that can be added. I would prefer if the board can actually email these comments, because
Okay.
then it's easier, because then it doesn't get lost. I'll have it in an email, I can input them in, I can then cross-reference them back to Paul.
Just make sure you email them timely,
Yep.
so that this is ready to go on
So
January
Thank you.
5th.
it doesn't actually say bylaws, so I guess that's why I was trying to find it last night, and that didn't come up, because I have to say powers and duties. That's an odd title to me, but is that a template that they provided that, is the word bylaw not accurate?
This is basically, the bylaws are going to set forth their powers and duties. So I can call it bylaws if you want to change it to bylaws or powers and duties. Again,
I don't know, I was just wondering if I had the wrong language, and that's why I couldn't find it last night.
no,
Okay.
this is just the title that was chosen. It can be amended, doesn't have to be that.
Yeah, I would say bylaws just because they've been using that
makes
term, and
sense,
I
yeah.
was searching for that, and couldn't find it, so.
It's an odd title, but to me, not that I read this all every day.
Can you give us a deadline for comments so that you have enough time to turn it around for the next...
How much time does the board need? I'll work
Wednesday
around
next
your
week?
schedule. Wednesday next week? is
Wednesday
fine.
next week.
Yeah. So comments Wednesday
Okay.
next week.
Great.
So if I don't hear from anybody by Wednesday next week, I'll take what I have, I'll input, and then go back to the rec commission.
So we need to go back to you with our suggestions, right?
Just
In
Yeah, if you could
writing,
email,
in
yeah, if you
writing.
could email
Okay.
them, that would be
Okay.
best.
Thank you.
Because we'd like
you.
to have something in place, by the reorganization meeting. Okay,
building
is that all the recreation, or was Thomas waiting to do building?
Oh, I would say that we're having a holiday musical review for local students who will be performing a medley of popular show tunes on Saturday, September 17th at 2 o'clock at the Town Hall. And the program has been made possible through the Northeast Duchess Fund at Berkshire Taconic Community Foundation and the town of Amenia. It's a wonderful opportunity to come out and support these students who have been working to produce this show for us, and it is free. And it was free to the students. It's been very successful, 10 weeks of working with a professional theater arts professional. So come and enjoy that program at 2 o'clock on Saturday. If it is snowing, if we have we're unable to hold it due to snow, it will be held on Sunday, December 18th at 2 o'clock in the auditorium. Thank you.
Tom?
Good evening. Since this is my first time speaking in this forum, I just want to introduce myself. I'm Tom Basil, Building Inspector for the town of Amenia for close to 7 months now. I will say there's been some exciting changes in the department so far. We are working on getting more efficient, more organized. We are currently working towards becoming a digitized department. We now have a shared network within the office that we've never had before, so we now communicate with each other without everybody sharing things through emails. So there's small changes, but they are changes that are making an impact and making a difference within the office. We also have been seeing a lot of positive feedback to having the building department open on Friday, especially from the developers, and it is a nice surprise to the residents as well. So we continue and hope to continue to grow in 2023. With that, for the month of November, we did 9 title searches, 6 fire inspections, 32 building permits were issued for a total revenue of $9,789. Next item I want to call your attention to is our current fee schedule that we have in place for 2022. I am putting together a proposal to make a change to these fees across the board for 2023. You should have those packets in front of you.
Yep.
And before everybody starts thumbing through the numbers, I'd like to just go into a little detail as to how I've derived at these numbers. There has been a lot of research and a lot of thought been put into this, to the point where I already have my 2024 budget and draft ready to go. There was a comparison of 10 local municipalities and their building departments and their fee schedules. They are of similar population levels as we have here in Amenia. In Amenia, we have a population of 4,385 roughly. Our comparison group, all 10 of them, was a population level of 5,000. I focused on mainly 5 of those groups, which were Northeast, Stanford Town, Clinton, Washington Town, and Unionvale. The total population average there was 4,000, which is right in line with that of Amenia. Justification for this, beyond that, is the building department has not done an in-depth analysis or substantial change to their fee schedule in nearly a decade. And when I say nearly a decade, I'm being polite. It's been probably closer to 20, 25 years since we've really looked into our fees. In fact, we pulled a file the other day for a resident that came in and they had a building permit from 1997. That building permit has changed by $50 today. So there's not been any real movement. So the last movement with fees within the building department was about 8 years ago when some of the line items were increased. That didn't live long. That lasted about 4 years when those line items were then lowered back down to where they were. Some additional line items were added. For next year, I do propose adding a considerable amount more of those line items, so we could probably bring some of our fees down again and level things out. But right now, we have a need to increase those fees even just to keep up with inflation. Again, like I said, we have not in-depth looked at them in close to 20 years. Even looking back over the last 10 years, inflation rates have increased 43%. They're predicted to go up another 2.3% next year. So you're looking at roughly a 48% increase in inflation since then. So the fees are based on the analysis of the other municipalities, the inflation rate, and the changing market and environment that we have in Amenia here now. So we have obviously a growing commercial market, a growing developer market. So the building department needs to try and keep up with that. In order to keep up with that, that means we need to become more efficient, we need to have the technology, and we need to have the resources. And currently, right now, there are a lot of fees across the board where they don't even pay for the time that we're out in the field, let alone all of the administration work that goes into it. So with that is my proposed fee schedule for 2023. You can take your time to look at that. I will, before you jump in it and get to any questions, I do want to point out one particular fee that will require a little bit more attention and maybe further discussion, and that is on the last page, and that fee being our fire inspections. I'd like to say one of the things that I was hired to do when I got here was to put a focus and a mission on completing our fire inspections and staying on top of our fire inspections. So I'd like to say out of the 141 establishments that we had slated for this year, 39 of them were either out of business or not due until next year. We completed 98 of them. We have 4 remaining that we've been trying to chase down now for several months. So by the end of the year, we hope to have 100% of all of our fire inspections completed. We are also working with the Assessors Department to revamp that list and expand on that list to make sure that we are capturing all of the individuals and businesses that need to be inspected annually or biannually. So here's where I get to the fee for the fire inspections. I'd like to say we are actually getting burned here. Sorry about that. What a lot of people don't know and what they don't see is with the fire inspections, going out on the inspection is rather easy, and currently we charge $50 per hour. We don't always implement that overage. That $50 per hour also doesn't take into consideration the extreme amount of work that goes on behind the scenes, whether it's booking those, contacting the local realtor or the apartment owner or whoever it may be that the fire inspection is needed to be scheduled through. There's often follow-up letters that needs to be done. And then there's often times where we're headed out to the fire inspection and it's a last-minute cancellation, or you get out there and they're not prepared, or they're not there. So we're going out on subsequent fire inspections. We have been remiss as an office in charging and keeping track of that hourly, but the administration portion doesn't even fit into that hourly. That only covers the fire inspector. So what I have is the last page, which is a proposal, which would break out our fire inspection fees for an initial inspection, and then it would be an escalated scale. So for example, if I go out to an apartment complex that has 30 units, I am charging $50 for that first hour, and I'm charging the same mom and pop store that $50 for that first hour. So this would be an escalating scale based on the number of units that we're inspecting. And the last thing that's on this item here that I'm proposing is subsequent visits. So if we have to go back out again, we should be charging that amount again. We don't have anything that addresses that says that we can go back out and charge for subsequent visits, and I think that's something important that we need to address. So with that...
Can I ask were you about to...
I was just going to say that the discussion about the fire inspections, I think, was triggered by the fire in Millerton, the house fire in Millerton, which was a multifamily building, and apparently the inspections in Amenia were quite far behind.
So I have just a very general question, and thank you for all your work here. And it goes to really just fundamentally like why, aside from parity with neighboring towns, why the need to raise the fees. I might be reading this wrong. Victoria, jump in here, correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like year to date, your department has collected about $160,000 in permitting fees. That's what it looks like in the revenue line. The budget for the office this year was about 120, everything in the safety inspection. So are you budget constrained at the moment? Or
I can tell you we have $1,378 left in our current building department budget, and that's not reconciling the end of November receipts as well as any of December's receipts. So our building department is going to be pulling money from other departments this year.
But that's, maybe we just didn't budget appropriately. I mean, you're certainly bringing in more money than you're spending, but we didn't budget your lines.
We are also working diligently within the building department to track down past fees. So we've gone back to 2018 for CO searches or COs that are required that have not been. So we're working to increase the revenue in the office. We're also going back and trying to track down delinquent fire inspection payments. So we are trying to do whatever we can to scrape through revenue. However, our fees are based, and the justification for the fees are not only based off of the comparison to other municipalities, as well as the fact that we have not changed and we have not kept up with the inflation rates. We do plan on expanding in the building department next year. We do have a vision for the department, which would be modernizing and digitizing it. But lesser than that, we've looked at the number of inspections we do and the times that we have to go back out on those inspections. A lot of these fees don't cover our time, meaning myself and my partner building inspector, let alone all of the administrative work that goes into a property or an inspection that nobody sees behind the scenes. There's a lot of paperwork and a lot of detail that has to go into every inspection where every I and every T needs to be dotted.
Yep.
And those are hours that are not accounted for.
For sure, and you know, again, that's why I asked if you were budget constrained, because the art with all of this is, right, you're not out to make a profit, you're out to generate as much revenue in fees as you need to sustain the department, right? Anything more than that is,
Gravy?
well,
No.
It's revenue for the town.
I think it's,
I mean, we have to have revenue in order to pay the
I
bills,
think it's notable
besides
here that
taxes.
what Tom is doing is digitizing the records. I don't believe that the records are, or in the past, were that much in order. And he's bringing that into compliance. That's a huge job,
yeah.
and it's a very important job.
Yeah, it is quite an undertaking. You know, we've been working with Dawn and her team, and we're slowly progressing. I'm trying to be aggressive with it. Dawn tries to pull back my reins, which I appreciate. But, you know, we really do need to catch up to some of these other municipalities, and we really do need to be organized within our filing systems and the paperwork that we have. It's critical. They are audited. I am responsible for providing a report on that. Somebody can come in any day and look at those files. And currently, we are not at the place where, you know, those files are in the organized state that they need to be. And that's what we're striving towards. So all of that, again, right now, this is a proposed fee schedule to try and level us out. It can be readdressed next year if it is approved. Like I said, I've already put together my preliminary draft for 2024. This would add probably 30 or 40 different line items, meaning different construction type projects, which we currently don't have. So what we've been doing, because we don't have these line items, is lumping them under a single line item where it's not being appropriately charged and the town is not appropriately gaining the revenue that is needed to cover that. And we can't just arbitrarily make up a fee. So it's important that we try and make that fee amount up within the current schedule without drafting new resolutions. Come 2024, I hope to lower those fees back down again by increasing those line items that we can then appropriately charge construction projects to.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's significant that these rates have been looked at for 20 years. In the workforce housing project, in terms of the zoning changes, again, we found that the rates for that had not, first of all, kept up with adjacent communities, but also hadn't kept up with the price of construction. So I think it is a good idea to raise these to an appropriate level with inflation and with our neighboring towns.
And again, I could share any of the data or the analysis that went into this, if anybody wishes to look at it. Just the growth that we're looking for and what we're trying to achieve, I think is a justification for it. And I am open for discussion in terms of areas where we think we may have gone too high or don't require an adjustment. And if I could provide a justification for that, I will do my best to do that.
Tom, have you sent this out to the group emails?
I have not sent that out because I actually just finished that at about
Okay,
6:30
all right.
tonight.
That's why I don't see it here. I was just looking forward to
I
seeing
had
it.
a different format that I
All right.
planned on presenting, and then
We wouldn't be approving the fees until the reorg anyway.
Oh, sure.
This is just for, you to look at and, give any feedback you felt
I will
is
send this out
appropriate.
electronically
Thank you.
to everybody, though.
Thank you.
Okay.
I have a miscellaneous question, looking at your budget lines that we've provided. Fire protection, CE maintenance, is that your department or is that something else? It looks like it's a contractual expense. It's $1,230. I'm just wondering if that line is part of yours, or if I'm...
No, it's not.
No,
Okay.
that's not part of our budget.
Okay, so down here, under safety inspection, that's the big chunk of your, and it's mostly personnel, it's $100,000 in...
Correct.
In people.
Yes. And I believe the only line items that I have a variance in, a positive variance, would be dues and mileage. Other than that, all of my...
You're spending them out, I see them.
Yeah, all of my other line items have already been zeroed out, and I believe that's with moving money around already.
Tom, one other detail question is just, under agriculture, it says any building permits associated with ag are 175 and then
That's a
220.
typo.
So it's $225. I
Correct.
just wanted to make sure.
Correct.
And you're thinking of adding more people, you kind of hint that you have bigger plans for making it more efficient and
No,
effective.
he's not adding more
I'm not
people.
adding anybody more than what I currently
Currently
have
have.
for
Okay.
2023. I do plan on adding equipment, technology, training for the current staff that's there. They are absolutely lacking in a lot of the training, especially on some of the new software that we're planning to implement.
Yeah, he has a scanner and what else, and a shredder, I think you put in your budget.
Copier, scanner, shredder,
Copier,
a new
scanner,
new
yeah.
computer station.
And he has a new,
Okay.
a new copier scanner coming in because the one he has was purchased in 2011.
So right now, we have been working with Dawn's team and sending our files upstairs to be scanned. So my secretary, Nicole, actually works to organize these files in all of a succinct format. So all of the paperwork is there. She then sends the files upstairs where they're scanned and then brought back down for proof. Next year, we're hoping that we don't have to do that anymore, that they would be scanned right in our office. Also, any blueprints that we have, which we have many of them, especially with Silo Ridge, we would currently have to send out to Dover or to an outside vendor to get those scanned. And I believe the cost is approximately $1 a page. Some of their blueprints are 300-400 pages long. So the cost and just the fact that we could actually now scan our own blueprints in-house,
You're going to get a giant plotter?
it's a large size, it's a large size scanner, yes.
Yeah, that would be expensive, I would think.
Yes, so we've priced one out, so I do have one already allocated in the budget for next year.
Okay.
And now again, that's something else that we're gonna need to train the staff on how to use and how to properly implement and how to organize those files and track those files.
I just have I just don't know that much about safety inspections, but you were saying that you were going to implement a fee schedule which would help you recover money if you have to go back to some place. So if, let's say, you find things that need to be corrected, then that would require you to go back to a visit.
Correct.
And you would then be charged more, so the incentive would be to make sure that your building is
That you're in line and we don't need to
fully-
go back out there.
Yeah, you don't want them to go out twice, right? Because you
Correct.
get 2 fees.
Or
Okay.
showing up at somebody's doorstep and they're not there.
So
which
it's a very
happens-
good incentive
which
for
happens
somebody.
considerably.
Yeah, okay, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's also, we require payment up front. It's very difficult to bill hourly when you're expecting to arrive at a fire inspection and collect $50, to then have our staff go back and look for another $50 or $25 or $75. So, which is why there has been some deficiencies in enforcing that.
Okay.
So if there was a simpler way to make sure that we recoup our fire inspection costs, that's what I'm trying to propose here. And when I say there is a great deal of administration behind the scenes on those, there is a great deal.
Okay.
Got it.
Terrific.
Makes sense.
Ian, does this require a resolution, or is this, I mean, how do we approve
This
this?
would
It'll
Yeah,
be
the
part of
reorg.
the reorg.
Yeah,
Okay.
We'll do a resolution through the reorg.
Okay, got it.
yes.
Thank you.
But not tonight.
Good. Thank you, Tom.
Great,
Thank you for
guys.
your time.
That's
Thank you,
great.
Tom.
Have a good night.
Charlie, did you want to give any report on wastewater? No, okay, just wanted you to have the opportunity.
Are there any other committee reports? Resolution number?
Damien, you're reading, because it's going to be 88. Would
May
you
I?
like to read?
You're going to read it?
I'd be happy to.
Thank you. My reader.
Resolution number 88 of 2022, transfer of funds for December 2022. Whereas the town board has the authority to transfer funds when necessary or unanticipated to amend the budget, and whereas budget amendment in the general fund increasing revenue line 2555.01 building permits by 10,000 and increasing expense line 36201.01 safety inspection PS by 10,000. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund increasing revenue line 2260.01 public safety services by $1,575.05 and increasing expense line 30204.01 public safety comm service by $1,575.05 for sheriff cost. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund increasing revenue line 3005.01 state aid mortgage aid by $15,000 and increasing expense line 14204.01 attorney CE by $15,000 for unanticipated expenses. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund increasing revenue line 1090.01 real property tax interest by $8,000 and increasing expense line 13554.01.044 assessor CE
Cert.
by $8,000 for unanticipated costs. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund increasing expense line 16204.01.062 building CE maintenance by $231.92 and increasing expense line 16804.01 data processing CE by $722.84 and decreasing expense line 14404.01 engineers by $954.76 for unanticipated expenses. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund increasing expense line 16204.01.077 building CE telephone by $2,500 and decrease 19894.01.057 other gen government support grant admin by $2,500 for new maintenance agreement. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund increasing expense line increasing expense line 71104.01.089 Amenia Park CE ballpark lights by $82.05 and decreasing expense line 71401.1 playgrounds rec PS by $82.05. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund increasing revenue line 2705.01 gifts and donations by $1,200 and increasing expense line 71804.01.032 special rec facilities CE instructor by $1,200. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund increasing revenue line 1989.0 other economic assistance by $6,412.24 and increasing expense line 80204.01158 planning CE housing by $6,412.24 for AKRF expenses. Whereas budget amendment in the highway fund increasing revenue line 3501.03 state aid chips by $25,653.42 and increasing expense line 51122.03.112 improvements EQ chips by $25,653.42 for increase from state funding for chips. Whereas budget amendment in the water fund increasing revenue line 4991.06 Fed Aid capital projects by $3,750 and increasing A3204.06 source power pump CE by $3,750 for new water wells and land map plans. Whereas budget amendment in the water fund increasing line 83204.06 source power pump CE by $3,650 and decreasing expense line 83202.06 source pump power CE by $2,500 and decreasing expense line 83104.06.128 administration CE software by $1,150 for unanticipated costs. Whereas budget amendment in the water fund increasing expense line 83304.06.117 purification CE laboratory by $72 and increasing expense line 83406.06 transmission distribution by $15.26 and decreasing expense line 83402.06 transmission distribution EQ by $87.26 for unanticipated costs. Be it further resolved, the Amenia Town Board authorizes the bookkeeper to encumber all claims against the town that are received between December 15th, 2022 and December 31st, 2022. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board authorizes the transfer of necessary budget lines to process the transactions.
Oh, I'll second that.
I just need somebody to make it before you can second.
Oh, damn, that's what I'll do then.
That's all. You want to make it? Thanks, Leila.
I'll second it.
Supervisor Parodi,
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle,
Yes.
Gutierrez,
Yes.
Blackman,
Yes.
Reblard.
Yes.
89?
Yep.
Can I ask a question, though? The gentleman from Uncharted, is he here for a particular section?
I'm not sure why
since he's
George is
been
here.
sitting? I just didn't want
They told you to come.
You've been here a long time. I just wanted to make sure that, did you have stuff to say, or just observing?
A little bit of both.
Okay, all right.
Resolution number 89 of 2022, awarding contract to obtain an appraisal of a particular parcel of land for potential workforce housing within the town of Amenia. Whereas the town of Amenia is seeking to hire an appraiser to appraise a particular parcel of land located within the town of Amenia for potential workforce housing. And whereas pursuant to the town's procurement policy, the town board of the town of Amenia obtained quotes from appraisers to conduct an appraisal of...
Damien, if I can interrupt, they're out of order there. The first one should be the resolution authorizing the transfer of funds. That should go first.
That would be 89?
89,
Number
sorry.
89, yep. Sorry.
And then it doesn't matter which one goes next?
No. After it doesn't matter, but the transfer should go first.
Okay.
Resolution 89 of 2022, resolution authorizing transfer of funds from the Workforce Housing Trust Fund to pay for survey and appraisal services to promote workforce housing. Whereas the town board of the town of Amenia is interested in purchasing a particular parcel of property located within the town of Amenia for the purpose of providing additional workforce housing to the community. And whereas the town board would like to conduct a survey and obtain an appraisal of such parcel to determine the fair market value of the property. And whereas pursuant to the Town Code Section 121-42N2B, the Workforce Housing Trust Fund shall be used exclusively to provide for the acquisition, purchase, planning, development, construction, improvement, rehabilitation, sale or resale, rental, subsidy, support, or other legal means of creating or supporting more workforce housing, end quote. And whereas the town board of the town of Amenia is seeking to transfer funds within the Workforce Housing Trust Fund to the Planning Housing Budget Line number 1.080204.01.158.00 to pay for the survey and appraisal services to determine the fair market value of the property. And whereas pursuant to Section 121-42 and 2D of the Town Code, the Town Board, after consultation with the Housing Board, has determined that these services be in furtherance of the workforce housing goals of the town. Whereas the Town Board desires to transfer...
Are we just adding together the low bid?
Do we have, I mean, has the town used these appraisers before? Do we have any recommendation as to why we shouldn't take the lower bid?
I've never heard of Axiom or, I've heard of Bubble.
Ackerly we've used before, right?
Yeah, I think they're a good company, but I don't know Axiom at all.
Kind of hard to do this one first.
Yeah.
Can't authorize an expenditure without the money in the bank.
I would recommend we take the low bid on both of these here. So $1,994.
What's the total?
I'm doing the,
Oh.
gotta fire up the old calculator here. 1,000,
Nobody's given us a description of their credentials or anything, where are they from? Who collected these bids?
I had requested quotes from all four, and they just gave us the number. Yeah, because it's pretty much you're doing the survey or you're doing the appraisal.
He sent them the parcel access.
Yeah.
Axiom
Parcel.
appraisals. They're experts, they say.
Yeah, I mean, I would take the low bid unless anyone has a reason
any
not to.
objections to taking the low bid?
They have moved to Burlington, Massachusetts. I've never heard of them. You're in real estate, you've never heard of them?
Should do.
Damien.
Well, having been an appraiser myself at one point, I think we all follow the same regulations and rules. I don't see why not.
Yeah, these are the only ones that responded.
Yeah.
They must,
26,
if they're
Damien.
busy, they're not
Just
going to take
26.
on anything new.
26.
So what are we doing, folks?
I think we should take the low bid.
Okay.
And what is that?
$2,545.
$2,545.
Is there a reason to make it an even 26?
What?
The numbers don't add up to that, so you don't have to do 26,
Do whatever.
25, 15, do whatever. The board can transfer any amount it wants. So,
$1 million.
So adding them
I would-
together, it's $2,545.
yeah, 25, 50, that's about the price. So
And if we go $2 over, we'll have to do another resolution.
To transfer back.
if there's no other money in that budget line to support it.
Okay, so
May I-
what are we doing? We're adding
It's
their survey amount.
appraisal for $550 and the surveyor for $1,995.
And it's
$1,000.
$2,545.
$2,545, 2545.
Okay.
I'll
we're
resume
done with
from
that. Good.
that paragraph then. Whereas the town board desires to transfer $2,545 from the Workforce Housing Trust Fund to the Planning Housing Budget Line number 1.0802004.01.158.00 to pay for a survey and appraisal to determine the fair market value of the property. Now therefore be it resolved as follows. The recitation set here forth or incorporated in this resolution is if fully set forth and adopted herein. The town board of the town of Amenia hereby determines the survey and appraisal services to be in furtherance of the workforce housing goals of the town. 3, the town board of the town board of Amenia hereby authorizes and directs the transfer of $2,545 from the Workforce Housing Trust Fund to the Planning Housing Budget Line number 1.0802004.01.158.00 to pay for the survey and appraisal services. I'll make that motion.
A second.
Well, they're based in Boston.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Replar?
Yes.
We'll do the appraisal resolution number 90. Resolution number 90 of 2022 awarding contract to obtain an appraisal of a particular parcel of land for potential workforce housing within the town of Amenia. Whereas the town of Amenia is seeking to hire an appraiser to appraise a particular parcel of land located within the town of Amenia for potential workforce housing, and whereas pursuant to the town's procurement policy, the town board of the town of Amenia obtained quotes from appraisers to conduct an appraisal of the parcel, and whereas the following quotes were received: Axiom Appraisals, $550, Ackerley and Hubble Appraisal Corp., $750. Where it has been determined that Axiom Appraisals, Inc. is the lowest responsible bidder for conducting the appraisal services set forth herein. Now therefore be it resolved that the recitations set forth are incorporated in this resolution as if fully set forth and adopted herein. The town board hereby approves the proposal from Axiom Appraisals, Inc. to provide an appraisal for a particular parcel of land within the town of Amenia for potential workforce housing. Town board hereby authorizes the town supervisor to execute a contract for the appraisal services and any other documentation necessary to effectuate this resolution upon review by the attorney of the town. Town board of the town of Amenia hereby authorizes this payment for said services to be paid from planning housing budget line number 1.0802004.01.158.00. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Replar?
Yes.
Resolution number 91 of 2022, awarding contract to surveyor for purposes of surveying a particular parcel of land for potential workforce housing within the town of Amenia. Whereas the town of Amenia is seeking to hire a surveyor to survey a particular parcel of land located within the town of Amenia for potential workforce housing. Whereas pursuant to the town's procurement policy, the town board of the town of Amenia obtained quotes from surveyors to conduct a survey of the parcel. And whereas the following quotes were received: Company Robert Campbell, $2,300 to $3,000. William E. James Engineering and Land Surveying, $1,995. Where it has been determined that William E. James Engineering and Land Surveying is the lowest responsible bidder for conducting the surveying services set forth herein. Now therefore be it resolved that the recitation set forth above set forth are incorporated in this resolution as if fully set forth and adopted herein. The town board hereby approves the proposal from William E. James Engineering and Land Surveying to provide a survey for a particular parcel of land located within the town of Amenia for potential workforce housing. The town board hereby authorizes the town supervisor to execute a contract for surveying services and any other documentation necessary to effectuate this resolution upon review by the attorney of the town board of the town of Amenia hereby authorizes the payment for said services to be paid from planning housing budget line number 1.080204.01.158.00. I make that motion.
Second.
All right.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilperson Stoyl?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Revelard?
Yes.
That had to be like the longest budget line number possible.
And we could have kept going.
What is that?
Could have kept
One dot-
going.
That's the housing.
It's like
one.
pi.
Are there any town board comments?
I have one. Stacy Mantle is our local champion, and we're working away on this CEC and CSC certification. Sorry, it's climate, it's Clean Energy Communities and Climate Smart Communities, are those acronyms. And we are close to getting, we are one goal short of getting a $5,000 grant for our climate smart activities. So we have a big incentive to complete that one seemingly easy but not so easy goal. And the goal has been to submit a unified solar permit for both ground and roof mounted systems, and I am just at wit's end to try and provide the kind of documentation that the Clean Energy Communities group will accept. I understand from our lawyer that, you know, our law already provides and it requires you to provide a unified solar permit application as part of your application if you're going to do solar in Amenia. So I had suggested that we tailor the one that is provided by the New York State and say Town of Amenia, provide Tom as the contact information or whoever the appropriate person is, and customize it with minor edits so that we could save it and call that our Town of Amenia has a unified solar permit available, upload it to the portal, and bingo, that's a part of it. So I am struggling between getting mixed communications from you and Tom and
Tom, go
Eleanor,
ahead.
who's helping us try and figure this out. How to provide the simple
Well,
documentation
it
that
should
other
not be,
towns.
it should not be a difficult process.
Great.
And it's been a process that obviously we've gone back and forth on for minor edit changes. I believe we just need, within the building department, clarification from legal as to whether that is required. I know you're saying that it is required in order to finalize that grant.
Right.
If that is something that we need to do, and Ian is in agreement with that, I can have that done before I leave tomorrow.
But if it's a New York State one, do we
New
have to
York-
customize it to our town?
So the reason why it was referred generally to the New York State Unified Solar Permit is that if there were ever any future edits to it, we would still be in compliance with our law and not have to update our law. So whatever the New York State Unified Solar Permit is, that's the required permit that needs to be submitted for a solar installation. So it is in the law. And I had offered last time at the last meeting, if you wanted, I could pull the law, highlight the section.
Oh, I can do that.
Okay.
I gave it that on to, I forwarded all that on. I said, I can highlight this.
Yeah.
I PDF'd the section of our law that provides the documentation that we require the unified solar permit for both ground and roof-mounted systems.
Okay.
They said that's not going to work. They're not going to accept it. So I'm caught between a
What-
rock and a hard
what do they
place.
want?
Yeah, what are they looking for other than
Other
unified solar permit?
towns
I mean,
have
there's only a
provided
New York State
a
one.
unified solar permit, ever so slightly customized to say Town of Amenia over the top, and who the contact person is at the bottom. Whatever we started working on, it was
Councilperson
about.
Doyle has already provided me with this documentation. It is literally a
It's
20 to
simple.
15-minute edit. There was just some confusion as to whether it needed to be done and whether it would uphold if there were any changes within the state code. So if I'm being told that we need that documentation and legal is on board, I can make those edits tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm just I can't figure out any other way other than saying a few minutes of editing from the sample unified solar permit template that other towns have used, uploaded, and the bingo, they're done with that point. That would be great. Otherwise, I could do a joint call with Eleanor and you, trying to explain why they won't accept what you say is
Yeah, if they just want like the
appropriate.
town's name on it, that's.
Can I do that?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Okay, we're done. We're done, because this has been going on for like
Yeah.
2 years.
No, we've had
Thank
this
you, Tom.
conversation 100 times.
Okay.
You and I had sent you an email on this.
Yeah, no, but you
Months
then,
ago.
we are ready to do this, and you squashed it, so we're now going to redo it.
Nobody squashed
I never
anything.
squashed.
Oh, no, you said that we shouldn't do it. That's why we backed off, right?
I believe there was just some miscommunication or something.
Okay.
He didn't tell you you couldn't do it. He just
If
said
you've
there was a
submitted
New
something
York
to
State
Tom,
one.
and Tom wants to send it to me, I'll take a quick look at it, and then we'll be done.
Yeah,
We'll be
I
done.
don't know.
I'll see
Other
whatever it is.
towns do it, and it's been pretty easy.
But nobody squashed anything.
Okay, well, then I misunderstood. I misunderstood.
I already have the document. I will forward it on to you before I leave this evening.
Perfect.
And
Perfect.
again,
I'll call you.
it
Well, I got court in the morning, but after court, I'll call you.
is very simple edits.
Okay.
Great.
So we also need to do a formal resolution, I guess, appointing our Climate Smart Task Community. So I think, need to talk to you, Victoria, before I suggest that we create a resolution to do so that you're on board with there's some opportunities, some templates
What
that
do we
other
need to
towns
do?
use.
A resolution?
A resolution documenting that we have created a special Climate Smart Task Community. We had originally provided that CAC would be our lead contact, but there are specific things that need to be passed and delineated as far as roles and
Well, we
responsibilities.
can do that as
very
part of the
clearly.
reorg.
Okay. But I think it will, again, need to be a resolution that's uploaded to their web
We
portal.
have multiple resolutions in the reorganization, and Ian will just add another one.
Okay, so I'll have a draft to the rest of the board tomorrow, so that you can take a look at what I propose, so that we can meet those requirements as well.
Well,
There's
you better
several
send it to Ian, because
opportunities.
he's the one that's going to be putting it in the reorg.
Well, I would want first to know that the town board felt that what I was proposing was appropriate, no?
Sure.
First, and then have Ian draft it, or approve it, let's just say. I mean, it's a
So
template,
we need a resolution formally appointing the CAC,
It's formally creating
creating the
a
Climate Smart Task Force, and then
that will be
put
a subcommittee of the CAC. In other words, you have to explain what the structure is in this resolution, and there are several options that we could decide to go, and it seemed to me that the
Well,
most
good.
appropriate...
Well, send them to us so that we can just move forward on it.
Okay, very good, thank you.
I got that part, yeah.
I think that's the only comment I have. So I had drafted that.
Ian, did we need to do another executive session or no?
I think we should.
Before we do that,
A short
under
one?
town board comments, did you say that you did want to speak? That wasn't clear to me.
I don't need to speak.
Oh, okay, all right, fine.
Climate Smart.
I would suggest that the town board take an executive session to discuss, for legal advice on various different items right now.
Okay, let's do it. I'm sorry, any other town board comments?
Okay, make a motion that we go into executive session for advice from legal counsel. And the town clerk is excused.
Thank you. 8:32.
What?
Second. Damian. Supervisor Prodi?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Blackman?
Yes.
Grublar?
Yes.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.